video where another white liberal will talk to you about things because they have a camera and time. Sorry, I'm just referencing that LeftTube is mostly white people. Reason for that, want to actually kind of address that in some ways in the future. But yeah, let's have another white liberal talk to you about stuff. I'm not a liberal, by the way. I'm actually a socialist, but whatever. Also, watch how cool this is. Oh yeah, welcome to the talk with Chris Maney. I'm just cool. It's cool that I can do this, and I'm having fun. I'm about to not have fun though. All right. Either way, we're going to Candace Owens, I think is her name. Recently, conspiracy theories have grown about Bob Saget's death in relation to COVID vaccine, only to prove how inept. No, I'm going to hold that thought right here for a second. She's not inept. She knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows she's educated enough that she can go and read studies. She can go do these things. She's just a liar. Back. So, where people will lie about COVID vaccines and such because they make money from it. It's not that just that you can be in the hands of big pharma and make money. You can make money through other avenues, in which we could talk about. We'll get into it when we get there. Okay, let's go ahead and play this.
And welcome. Suddenly and unexpectedly over the weekend, an actor whom many of us know, Bob Saget, was found dead in his hotel room in Orlando, Florida. Police say there were no signs of trauma or drug use, so why or how Bob died remains a mystery.
That's right, it remains a mystery. That's it. That's it, just a mystery.
I would like to at first extend my sincere and heartfelt condolences to Bob's wife and his entire family. I met Bob Saget one time at a restaurant in West Hollywood before I had any notoriety of my own, and he was extremely kind and gracious to me and the group of friends that I was with who were starstruck to see him. Many of us feel like we grew up with Bob. I mean, who didn't watch Full House in the 90s? Uncle Jesse, DJ.
So, she's going to go in and talk about how I guess she actually likes Bob or cares about Bob in some way or his importance in order to put up a smoke screen and the lying that she's about to do. But okay.
Patriarch Danny Tanner, a storyline of a close-knit family coming up in what felt like a hopeful San Francisco. The show reflected a different America, in many ways a more simple America, a happier America. Some would say a country that we aspired to be, but I would argue that it reflected a country that we actually were. So much has changed since then, and all of it for the worse. For example, the idea of any well-meaning family choosing to raise children in San Francisco, or the crime-ridden city of San Francisco, but everywhere, all across the world. We know that we are being lied to, all of us. We know politicians are colluding globally in an attempt to impart some real evil and control over the people that they govern. And we know that
there's the common conspiracy theories, which we can talk about the reference to. We're not going to go there yet. It's a little spicy for a second. All right, so she's talking about the global conspiracy, probably a reference to globalism. I don't know. I've never actually gotten the motivating factor behind the conspiracy ever from any of these people. Something to do with globalism, and you get a lot of reference to neo-fascist stuff, and you do the Great Replacement theory of white people in the United States with people who are not white. A lot of dog whistle, whatever the term is, you hear it a lot. So even if they're not outright fascists, they play into the hands of fascist rhetoric, and for that, I'm not sympathetic to them at all, and that's exactly what this is, and they're using it as a political tool to win elections and protect capitalist power, and we can talk about that after. So
virtually everything that we are being told by the mainstream
We're being
reliable
told by the
sources and
mainstream
fact
reliable
checkers.
media. It's not like they are necessarily reliable, but they're not reliable for different reasons. But okay.
Is a well-funded lie, but there seems to be very little that we can do about it.
So the right has got onto this right populist message. So right populism, or even I would go far to say is fascism to some extent, tends to target education, cultural aspects of a population. So left populism tends to target the wealthy, the class-orientated differences between groups. The right tends to go for cultural ones, and in the past, superiority of specific groups of people, and so forth and so forth. So a lot of this is a remnant of that populism. So targeting educational systems, which are changing the culture. So education is fundamentally altering the culture in which we have, right? So we're talking about racism and all of these things, and we have a new movement, a new social movement, Black Lives Matter, so to say, right behind me. All these things are occurring, changing the fundamental fabric of the culture they wish to preserve, so they're going to target that culture. They're going to target colleges. They're going to target not only colleges, but science in general. They target sociology and all of these things. And unfortunately, medicine, science happens to be a byproduct because COVID-19 had threatened the capitalist class. The capitalist class was threatened by COVID-19 because of the distribution of wealth, and that actually didn't play out as it did, but people weren't making money during the time that really wished to make money, the ownership class, and lockdowns were not a valuable tool, and slowing down the economy by having people inside and not doing things and much, not spending money, is just an asset that harms capitalists. So she's going to rail against it. She's going to rail against that because that's the class she serves. Sorry, that was a rant, but we're going to keep going because...
I'll say this. There is something that doesn't feel right about Bob's sudden and unexpected death. I'm sorry, does that sound like a conspiracy? Am I traversing down conspiracy lane by even saying that?
Yeah,
I've done this before, haven't I? If you've been watching this show or if you've been following me on social media, you've heard me do this plenty before. For example, I reported early last year that many women were facing sudden and unexpected changes in their menstruation following...
And I know what she's about to talk about. I've seen this a little bit. It's unfortunate that she got banned. We can talk about how companies have a lot of power, but they have this power in reference to defending themselves. They only do this for money because advertisers, and they think this gives them a bigger audience. That's it. There's no bigger conspiracy. It's Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the most likely one, and it's that companies are trying to preserve the wealth. That's it. They just want wealth. They're trying to poison us. They're trying to do these things. Ridiculous, dumb, and stupid. That's it. Case closed.
COVID shots. And for sharing that, my Twitter account was locked out for 24 hours for pushing, you guessed it, COVID misinformation. Of course, fast forward 7 months, and the CDC...
You see, I think that's unfortunate that happened, because I do believe there should be more open dialogue about this. So I know she's giving anecdote. Now, people use anecdotes for other reason, just like this. This is an anecdotal example of someone who took the COVID shot and died because,
And Big Pharma came clean about that. Yes, menstruation changes were a result of their new mRNA technology.
She's about to do a little trick here, though.
Just hadn't looked into it prior. No big deal, right? Similarly, I filed a lawsuit against Facebook and its fact checkers back in 2020 for defaming me, for calling me a liar and a conspiracy theorist.
Why? Why did they call her a liar? Why did they call her a liar and conspiracy theorist? Did it have anything to do with that, which she was actually accurate about, the menstruation issues? Did it?
Issuing me a false rating for stating that the COVID death count was being massively inflated.
There it is! Oh, and she makes up something up, and apparently she's right somehow, which... That's a whole... Again, That goes back to defending the capitalist class. COVID was not that bad. COVID is a big lie. COVID, go keep spending money. Don't worry about COVID. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not happening. It's not existing. It's not only to hurt they're hurting the president. They're hurting the class. They're hurting these things. Go spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you have a bunch of comorbidities and you die. I don't care if they just don't care. COVID's not that bad. Don't worry about it. Go spend money. They're making up the numbers. That's it. So, she referenced something that she was accurate about. This is a fallacy. She took something that she was accurate about. Oh, I'm going to put on my little ticker because it's so cool that I can do this. I'm not that cool, though. She had she had something that she was accurate about, the menstruation issues. And then she decided to pull that into the same category as I'm also right about the COVID death numbers, and they tried to hide that. Those two don't relate whatsoever. And she has no evidence for the latter. None. But she puts them together. That was one of the main conspiracy theories, because again, protection of the capitalist class. That was the goal. So, let's keep going. Let's keep getting entertained by this. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah.
That they were including people who did not die with COVID as a primary cause. In other words, people were being hit by cars and succumbing to their wounds, and they were testing them for COVID post-mortem and including them in the official death counts. Facebook rated that post false. But not anymore. Not anymore. Fast forward to this week in 2022.
Then she's going to falsely attribute something else. The CDC.
Walensky, the director of the CDC, openly admits on national TV that over 75% of vaccinated COVID deaths occurred in people that had at least 4 comorbidities. I mean...
Yeah. Uh-huh. Vaccinated COVID deaths?
CNN is now acknowledging the great hoax of the...
Those are nowhere near related to each other. Love it. I love it. What she was saying, because you have to explain it to them. You don't actually, because they know what they're doing. Again, they know what they're doing. She doesn't actually believe this, probably. She's okay with people dying. It's all right. I don't know if she's vaccinated or not. She probably is. Most of these people are vaccinated and have no play in the game. Omicron's probably milder. This probably is the end phase of the pandemic. I hope so. Obviously, it's still doing lots of damage, but the point is, what she was saying is that when you're vaccinated, it's hard to die. That the efficacy of the vaccine, we've reduced that a vast majority of people who are vaccinated against COVID-19, and when they have experienced breakthrough infections, will be mild. The protection against severe disease and death is strong and is there and is present in the COVID vaccine. If you've been vaccinated and you have a breakthrough infection, because those now are much common because we let COVID mutate because Pfizer and Moderna didn't want to actually send their technologies overseas to poor countries so they can actually manufacture and make vaccines so that we could actually prevent the increase in new variants, because that actually made Pfizer and Moderna not much money. So guess what? The way they didn't do that. There's where Big Pharma has a problem. Because I'm not going to tell you not to take insulin if you're a diabetic. Just like I'm not going to tell you to not take the COVID vaccine if you're at risk, or if you're just anyone and you may reduce the chances of even young people with Delta. And we don't know for certain with Omicron because of the prevalence of Delta that happened and antibodies, but I'm not going to tell anyone who may benefit from the vaccine to not take a vaccine because that's supporting Big Pharma. No, what I'm going to tell Big Pharma, and I would hope that a lot of people can learn from this and start doing, is that Big Pharma is an ass. And it only makes bunches of money It makes tons and tons and tons of money from selling you products that you need, and it can charge you lots of money. Why? Because you need these products. And the government has an interest in buying and giving vaccines for one reason only. Not because there's some vast global conspiracy. One reason only, and it's actually very simple. The government supports the capitalist class, and COVID is a problem. COVID reduces economical activity and output, and it needs to stop from the government's perspective. That's why vaccines are mandated. Now, on another perspective, vaccines also save lives. Vaccines also save lives. So, it has that byproduct of saving lives and keeping people out of the hospital. One reason for taking the vaccine to help the economy keep going forward and making money, I don't frankly give a damn about. If it can save someone's life, I'm going to advocate you to take it. And I'm going to advocate that the manufacturers and the government be more forceful in getting Pfizer and Moderna to get those vaccines overseas so that we can save even more lives. That's my perspective. This vast global conspiracy nonsense is garbage, destructive, and outright meaningless. So, whatever. Let her keep going.
COVID death count. Just took them 2 years. Let's see, I was also labeled a conspiracy theorist for noting that the breakthrough COVID cases, you know that phenomenon? Breakthrough, fully vaccinated individuals that were getting COVID.
Yeah, because it happens with the flu vaccine too. Also,
yeah, I said that wasn't breakthrough at all. There was nothing extraordinary about that. It was simply evidence, obviously, that the vaccines failed to do what they promised.
they never failed to do what they promised. I don't know where that comes from, that they failed to do what they promised. The original promise was to keep people out of the hospital. And fortunately, at the time, with the wild type variant, specifically the one that came from the original pandemic strain, which is what the spike protein is for, that variant of COVID, that spike protein, whenever you get exposed to that variant, specifically for the mRNA vaccines, it was 95% effective at preventing you from getting infected for a certain period of time. And then we had, but for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, Johnson & Johnson has always been in the low efficacy, where breakthroughs were actually quite common. It was in the 60 to 70% efficacy. And we saw breakthroughs all the time, but no one was getting hospitalized. The promise has always been reduction of hospitalization and death. I don't know where we thought that was not the case. I really don't. Sorry, I've been looking at the screen and not the camera. I don't know whatsoever where that was the big promise. So when we had beta, and we had specifically Delta, which was wildly contagious, had significant breakthrough. That was a response to not having widespread vaccination. Especially where India was spreading like wildfire, and then, well, of course, we had a mutation. Well, I don't know if whatever, it was spreading wildfire through the rest of the world, and then we had a mutation. Bam, spreads even greater, and also had adapted, as it does in evolution, to bypass antibodies. So when people talk about natural immunity, why does no one talk about that Delta had a bigger breakthrough incidence if you've already been infected with wild type? Breakthrough. Why does no one talk about that Omicron will widely reinfect people that have natural immunity? It's the same concept with the vaccine and having natural immunity. You're probably, if you have natural immunity, you're probably protected from hospitalization and death, but it's the same if you have the vaccine. It's only that the variant you were exposed to for the vaccine, it was the wild type. For many people, it was probably Delta, but Omicron is actually like different in the phylogenetic tree. Like, we can look at that. COVID causes significant, Omicron will break through that. just like it will vaccines. There's no conspiracy here. There's no that it didn't work. It did its job in preventing death. Probably through T-cell immunity or something like that. But it's broken through antibodies, and that's okay. That happens to the flu vaccine because it mutates. That's what viruses do. I hate this. I hate talking about this. Jesus Christ. God. I'll keep playing.
Whether you were vaccinated or not, you could still catch and spread COVID. That was once a conspiracy theory. Now it's the truth. They are now even quite humorously pretending that the entire purpose of the vaccination campaign
You were also doing it at a less rate. Like it was a 30%. I mean, the vaccine efficacy dropped to 70% during Delta, probably the time that she said this. And why that's important, why that's very important, I'm sorry, I don't have a pop filter. Why that's very important is, let's think about it here. Let's think about this, really. That means 1/3 people who get exposed may develop symptoms and be able to spread it. Compared to if you were unvaccinated and most likely naive to infection, you had a much greater chance. Only 1/3 of people were testing positive. Delta was a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The vaccinated were rarely dying. They made up 1/10 of hospitalizations. People were dying who did not get vaccinated. What was ever their point? Other than to spread these fascist conspiracies.
simply to help prevent hospitalizations. Right.
Yeah.
So, am I a conspiracy theorist or am I Nostradamus? The answer is neither. I'm just not on Big Pharma's payroll, and I refuse to.
But you probably support Regeneron. And Regeneron makes lots of money. All of these other therapeutics come from Big Pharma. It just happens to be that one of the most effective things against COVID and preventing you from being hospitalized is a prophylactic that you take before you get COVID. And there's no way around it. That's it.
Peddle in their lies. And so to that end, today, I'm going to point out another truth, and it will likely be deemed a conspiracy theory until it's not.
Okay.
There are too many healthy individuals like Bob Saget, who we know have received their vaccinations, who are dropping dead suddenly and unexpectedly with no further explanation.
That happened before COVID. Why didn't he drop? I think he got his booster. Why didn't he drop dead after the first two? Why did he drop dead after the booster? Anyone want to explain that one?
Healthy athletes, young students in their physical prime, the majority of them males,
happened all the time
dropping
before
suddenly
COVID.
and unexpectedly.
They just now happen to be
in the middle of
vaccinated.
games.
Correlation does not equal causation. Correlation has never equaled causation.
From heart issues.
Unless it
What we know for a fact is that these people are being mandated to take the vaccine.
I brushed
And we
my
know for a
teeth
fact that these
yesterday.
vaccines
If I get in a car
come with
accident
warning
tomorrow, are they related?
that they bring about myocarditis. But the
I brushed
media
my teeth this morning.
is once again
That increased
gaslighting
my
the public,
chances of
pretending
dying in a
that to
car
even
accident.
take notice of this very alarming trend is a conspiracy. The problem isn't that healthy men are dying. The problem is that you're noticing it. Where are the fact checkers? All of this to say that I don't know why a healthy man who is in the middle of a comedy tour suddenly and unexpectedly drops dead
Sometimes
in
it
his hotel
happens.
room. But I do know that we have a right to ask the question.
Sure.
All of us do.
Sure.
In fact,
But when the answer's
entire
there,
world has
you can't ignore it.
suddenly
And we're gonna go over the
unexpectedly
answer.
Been prescribed an injection that we don't need. It is not only our right to ask questions.
But if you need
also
monoclonal
our
antibodies,
right to
everybody take on
demand
monoclonal antibodies.
answers.
Go to your local place who's giving monoclonal antibodies. Beg for the IV injection because you didn't take the shot, and when it's out, you complain about the supply of it. Go. Okay, whatever.
Hello, and welcome.
All right, is she done? She done?
It's not only our right to ask questions.
She's done. Okay, to the study. We're going to the study now. All right, you actually want to talk about science? Let's talk about science. Okay, look, we have a study here. Look at this. This is only one. There's many. There's many studies that point to the same conclusion. We have scientific consensus. That's what that's called. Now, I don't know how to use this software to pull up the other ones, so we're only going to look at this one. But, from what I could tell, I would look through this. I couldn't do it. I could not find Pfizer or any contributions from Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. Is only mRNA vaccines, but they could be competitors, and they might want to fuel some of this, That's how the market works. So, I couldn't find it. This seems to be a college-led study. If anyone knows says this is wrong, then let me know. But there are plenty of studies that are not funded by Pfizer, Moderna. But of course, the government probably funds these colleges in this vast conspiracy, so you can make up this big boogeyman and anything you want around it, with no burden of proof. But okay, whatever. And let's go look here. Let's see. Can I see it too well? Either way, we have what is our N equal? So the N, I think this is it. N equals, 2.5 million. Oh my God, 2.5 million. And we have a number of cases, 54. I'm actually going to have to pull this up on a bigger screen. I hope you can see it. Yeah, 54. Male 1.2 million, female 1.3 million. So that's our N equals. That's how many subjects we have. And we have, in the female group, 3 cases, and the male group, 51 cases for per capita, 4.12 per 100,000, and 0.23 per 100,000 for females. And I think that's the most important in the age group of 16 to 21, where there was a 5.49 incidents per 100,000 of myocarditis in that age group. And I think specifically we want to look at the male age group. So they latched onto these studies. We have a 10.69 and the 16 to 29 per 100,000, putting that somewhere around 1 in 10,000, which we can have a conversation about that. See, we can actually talk about the value of getting the COVID vaccine once you've already been infected and the chances of myocarditis in relation to actually getting COVID-19 and the benefit risk ratio in that age group. But I want to actually point out what she's actually reaching really hard for, because even the significance of a 10 out of 100,000, 1 in 10,000, is pretty rare. And in a majority of these cases, they're non-fatal. Vast majority, over 99%. Oh, so there we go. What about a virus that has a 99% survival rate? Whoa. What about a vaccine that has a 1 in 10 million survival rate? And if you do get myocarditis, it's got a 1 in 100 survival rate. Whoa. I'm done. So, back to the study here. So, we can look at this and we can see that in the male group older than 30 years old, We had an incident of 2.11 out of 100,000. 2.11. 2.11. 2.11 out of 100,000. 2.11. I need to fix this camera to make sure that it sees me next time. 2.11 out of 100,000. That's less than ALS, by the way. ALS is 4 in 100,000. Survivability is much greater as well. And the chances of actually getting myocarditis from vaccine are from COVID-19 are far greater. So then again, we go into the risk-benefit ratio. You should get vaccinated. You should just get vaccinated. That's the conclusion. You should get vaccinated and not listen to fascist idiots. Sorry, did I say that part out loud? Yeah. That's what you should do. But that's more nuanced. There's other groups that also don't want to get vaccinated. And in that case, there's a different conversation that you have to have with them. For my white brethren, don't listen to fascists. Okay? So yeah, I'm done. I had fun. I had fun playing with this software. This was fun. Hopefully it comes out okay. It's probably a lot of popping and stuff, but that's all right. I hope you enjoyed this time with me. I hope you did. And I hope listening to this person over there did not hurt you too much. Yeah, that way. I hope it didn't hurt you too much. You know what? Take care. I'll see you next time. Later.